Can you hear me? Please someone respond. Okay. Okay, Siddharth. So I'm presenting my screen. Tell others to join soon. Can you see the screen? Can you see the screen? Okay, Akshara. So I'll wait just for half a minute more and please tell others to join first. Okay, now I'll start. Again, there are more people to join, around 10, 11 students to join. So, today we are going to discuss about language development. Hope the screen is visible to you and am I audible to you? Am I audible to you? Okay, okay, thank you. So, language development, that is how we are going to develop to speak a new language. How are we going to understand a new language? And that is what is meant by language development. And the best example when we speak about language development is how children learn new languages. Children learn to speak our language. And that is the best comparison given here regarding how language is developed. So, it is the process by which children learn to understand and communicate language during their early childhood. So, even when we are going to learn a new language, we follow the same principle what children do when they are trying to study or when they are trying to learn a new language or learn when they are trying to speak and understand what others are saying. So, here, receptive language development. One term that is associated with language development is receptive language development. Now, you might have seen children, they learn to understand us well, but they won't be able to communicate with us easily. But they understand what we are doing. They can understand very well the actions that we are doing, but they cannot interpret it in words because they don't know the appropriate words to be used. So they understand this language well, and understanding a language is the first step in language development. So they will understand the language well, and then they will try to comprehend what they had learned. They will understand and they will keep it in their mind. They know it in their mind, but they don't know how to interpret it. And that is known as receptive language development. It refers to the ability to comprehend languages. Okay, is it clear to you? Is it clear to you? So, receptive language development means we are trying to understand. The children is trying to understand. Children, they try to understand what is going on around. They understands everything, but they cannot communicate. But they know it in their mind about what is going on. So they are actually trying to comprehend what is going on outside, and that is called receptive language development. But based on the perceptions that they receive from the outside, they are understanding what is going on, but they cannot express it in words. Now, next is expressive language development. It refers to the ability to communicate using a language. So here they are not receptive language, they are just understanding what the language is. And in expressive language development, they are able to communicate using a language. And after receptive language development comes expressive language development, where they are able to communicate using a particular language. Now, that is what is written here. Receptive language development usually develops faster. The first step is we understand what is going on around, and after understanding we try to express it in words. So receptive language development usually develops faster than expressive language development. Now, two different styles. There are two different styles of language development. First is referential language development, and the other is expressive language development. In referential language development, here children, they first try to speak single words, speaking single words, and then they join words together. And first into two words, then they combine three words, and so on. They cannot speak the entire sentence together, so they just speak single words and combine two or three words together. And that is known as referential language development. So children, even when they start speaking, they just use words first, and they don't know this how to build sentences. So that form of language development is known as referential language development. And finally, when they learn all these words, just like I'm telling you, when you learn English, you have to study the words first, like the synonyms, understand the meaning of the words first. Only then we can express them in sentences. It is the same way here also. Children also study words of a language first, understand the meaning of the language first, and that is called referential language development. And then they try to build big sentences using these words, long sentences using these words, and that is known as expressive language development. Here, children first speak in long, they try to speak in long, unintelligible babbles. They try to put all these words together, but it may not be a meaningful sentence, but they try to imitate the adults speaking. So they look at the adults, and the way the adults speak, their parents speak, they try to put all these words together and try to build long sentences, which may or may not be meaningful. And anyway, they're collecting the words to form big sentences, long sentences. And that form of language development is known as expressive language development. Now, these are the two different types of language development: referential language development and expressive language development. And most children, they use a combination of these two styles. Is it clear? Is it clear to you? So what are the two forms of language developments? What are the two forms of language developments? Anyone just type in the chat box? Please type in your chat box. What are the two forms? Are you not writing these points down? Okay, Niharika, referential and expressive. Very good. Referential and expressive language development. Now, so whenever we speak languages, here in this language development, long words are built, but we are not, children are not bothered about the grammar or anything. So before if we want to speak correctly, we have to build sentences grammatically so that others can understand what we are speaking. So grammar is very important when we come to language development. And so the next section of your syllabus deals with subject-verb agreement. And directly it is mentioned in the syllabus as subject-verb agreement because you might have studied the basics of grammar in school. So we are just focusing on what the subject-verb agreement is. Since this topic is mentioned in your syllabus, we are just having a look at what it is. Is it clear? So now we are going on to the next section, subject-verb agreement. Hope you had covered all these sections in school. Now, what is subject, what is verb, and what is subject-verb agreement? Do anyone know that? Anyone knows that answer? What is a subject? What is a verb? And in simple sentence, just in a one or two sentences. What is subject? What is a verb? And what is subject-verb agreement? Have you studied subject-verb agreement in school? Anyway, we are just going to go through an overall look at it just for your information. So, subject. Hope you should know what subject is. What is a subject in a sentence? So, I will give you a simple example. Okay, Tom is running. Tom is running. Which is the subject? Tom is running. Identify the subject in that sentence. Tom. Yes. Why do we call Tom as a subject? Because the sentence speaks about him. The sentence is concerned about which person or a thing that sentence is speaking about. That is called subject. And now, what is a verb? Tom is running. Which is the verb? Running. Yes, it is an action word. So along with this verb, there are supporting verbs also. Like is a supporting verb of the verb running. So there are different kinds of verbs. Anyway, we are going to look at what does subject verb agreement mean. Okay. So subject verb agreement. It means that the subject and verb must agree in number. Subject verb agreement means the sentence you should keep in mind. Subject verb agreement means that in a sentence, subject and verb must agree in number. Number means singular or plural. So we state numbers using, for one we say singular and for many we say plural. So singular and plural, that is the agreement. If the subject is singular, the verb must be singular, and if the subject is plural, verb must be plural, and that is called subject verb agreement. Here I have stated it. That is, either both needs to be singular or both needs to be plural. So in a sentence, if you are writing a sentence, if you're going to build your own sentence, just follow this rule. That is, the subject and verb should agree in number. That is, if the subject is singular, the verb must be singular. And if the subject is plural, the verb must be plural. That is called subject verb agreement. So can you state what is subject verb agreement in a single sentence? Can anyone type in the chat box? What is subject verb agreement? Anyone? Just a single sentence. What is subject verb agreement? You didn't understand what I said? In a sentence, if the subject is singular, the verb should be singular. Yes, very good. Subject and verb should agree in number. Very good. That is, if the subject is singular, the verb should be singular. And if the subject is plural, the verb should be plural. And that is called subject verb agreement. So, now for this subject verb agreement, we have to cover around 10 rules. There are 10 rules that should be followed when we consider this subject verb agreement. So let us look at each rule one by one. The first rule, rule 1, it says what we mean now. That is the definition itself. The subject and verb must agree in number. That is, either both must be singular or both must be plural. Either the subject and verb should be singular or the subject and verb must be plural. Now you'll understand it with this when we consider this example. Example 1. The car belongs to my brother. The car belongs to my brother. Now what is the subject? The car belongs to my brother. What is the subject? What is the subject here? What are we speaking about in that sentence? Car. Okay, very good. Car. We are speaking about a car. So that car is the subject. Now, which is the verb? Which is the verb? The car belongs to my brother. Which is the verb? Verb shows ownership, etc. Not only action words, it also shows ownership, etc. So belongs. Yes, the car belongs to my. So the here in this sentence, car is the subject, belongs is the verb. So I said there should be agreement between subject and verb. Now here, subject. Look at the subject. Is it singular or plural? Is that subject singular or plural? Is car singular or plural? How many cars I have mentioned here? Yes, singular. Why? Because there is only one car. I'm writing it as car. If it is cars, then it is plural. But I have written it as car. So it is, I'm speaking about a single car. So it is singular. If I'm speaking about many cars, it is plural. So the car subject is singular. So verb should be singular. So the verb is belongs. So just remember that when you look at the verb, if the verb ends with s or es, then it is singular. And if the verb does not end with s or es, it is plural. Okay, just code word. It's just formula to remember what how the verb is. That is when if the verb has s or es, it may not be correct in all the cases. There can be exceptional cases, but if there is a s or es at the end of a verb, then it can be considered as singular. If there is no s or es, then it can be plural. That is, if it was belong, B-L-O-N-G instead of s, then it was plural. Okay, is it clear? Since I had written belongs here, there is a s at the end of the verb, so it is singular. So verbs, when you consider verbs which has s or es, then it is singular. If does not have s or es, it is plural. So here the car is singular, and looking at the verb, you find that there is s at the end, so it is singular. So since the subject and verb both are singular, the sentence is grammatically correct. Is it clear? So the sentence is singular. Is it clear to you? So here the subject is singular, verb is also singular. You can identify easily whether the verb is singular by looking at the last word. If there is an s or es, then the verb is singular, otherwise it is plural. Now, that is only a key to understand that, okay? Now, next, look at the next sentence. They also play football. They also play football. Now, which is the subject? Is it singular or plural? Which is the subject here? No, come on, first you have to respond fast, otherwise I will lag. Portions will be lag. Now, they also play football, which is the subject. What are we speaking about in the sentence? That is the subject. No, we are speaking about they, isn't it? We are speaking about them, somebody. And we are saying that they also play football. This is the object. So this is the subject, and action is done on, and that is the object, and this is the verb. So what we are speaking about is we are speaking about them, and so that is the subject. And they means singular or plural. They means there are a lot of people, isn't it? Not a single person. So they means the subject is plural. And next we are coming to the verb, that is play. And looking at the verb, we find that there is no s or es, which means that it is plural. If there is s or es, then if it is place, plays, then it is singular. If it is only play, then it is plural. So they also play football. So this is plural. Okay, since subject is plural, verb is also plural, the entire sentence is plural. So if the subject is singular, verb should be singular. If the subject is plural, verb should be plural. And that is the first rule. Is it clear to you? Is it clear to you? Yes or no? Okay, okay. So we are not going much into the depth or into the exceptional rules. We are just following the simple rules. Just keep in mind all these rules. So next, rule 2. So this rule says that when a phrase comes between the subject and the verb, we said there is a subject and there is a verb. In between this, if there is a phrase in between the subject and the verb, then again the verb should agree with the subject. Even if there are phrases in between subject and verb, still the subject should agree with the verb. That is, if the subject is singular, verb should be singular, and if the subject is plural, verb should be plural. So let us look at this example. So when a phrase comes between the subject and the verb still agrees with the subject and not the noun or the pronoun in the phrase. Don't look at the phrase. If a phrase comes in between subject and verb, don't look at the phrase. You have to follow the subject as well and the verb as in rule 1. That is, look at this example. One of the boxes is open. One of the boxes is open. Here, the subject is one. And the verb is, the supporting verb is open. Isn't it? Is the supporting verb here. So there is a phrase in between that is of the boxes. Here the boxes is singular, is plural, but we cannot take the phrase in between the subject and the verb. We should not consider the phrase in between the subject and the verb. This phrase here, it is plural, but one in the subject is singular. So whenever a phrase comes in between, this phrase is plural, but don't consider the phrase, you should still consider the subject. If the subject is singular, the verb is singular. Is singular. R is plural. A-R-E, R is plural. Is singular. So the subject one and the verb are both singular. In this case, one and is singular, but there was a phrase in between which is plural. But even if a phrase comes in between, don't consider that phrase. Consider only the subject and the verb, and they should agree in number. The next is the student. Here the subject is the student, as well as the committee members is excited. So here the subject is student, the verb is, the supporting verb is excited, and so there is a phrase in between the subject and the verb, and there is as well as the committee members. When we come to committee members, it is plural, but we should not consider the phrase here. We should consider only the subject and the verb. Even if there is a phrase that comes between the subject and the verb, should not consider this phrase. Instead, you should still consider the subject and the verb alone. The subject is singular. We are speaking about a single student, so the subject is singular. So the verb is also singular. We cannot look at this plural phrase and write a plural verb here. That is, if you write the sentence, the student as well as the committee members are excited, then it is wrong. Okay, if you're going to replace this is with are, looking at committee members are plural. So instead of is, if you're going to use are, A-R-E-R, then it is wrong. So since here the subject is singular, the verb here should be singular. Is it clear? So in your notes, these notes are uploaded in Linbase. In these notes, I had put a single underline for subject and double underline for verbs. Just when you go through your notes, just for you to identify, subjects are underlined once and verbs are underlined twice. So this is a verb, I have underlined it twice. And subject is the student, so I have underlined it once. So is it clear? So even if there is a phrase in between the two subjects, if between the subject and the verb, don't consider the verb. Still, you should consider the subject and the verb alone and see that they agree in number. That is the second rule. Don't consider phrase in between subject and verb. Is it clear to you? Is it clear to you? Hello, is it clear to you? Okay. Nowadays, your response is very less. You're not responding at all. There are 60 here, and only one or two people are responding. At the end, I will ask you to submit your notebook. So I should see what is there in your notebook during these hours. At least I want the main points in your book. Okay. Now we are going to the third rule. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Third rule. So the third rule in subject verb agreement is some subjects always takes a singular verb. Some subjects they take a singular verb even though the meaning may seem plural. Even sometimes the meaning is plural, but the subject some subjects they often take only a singular verb. They never take a plural verb. There are certain subjects that take only a singular verb even though the meaning of the sentence seems to be plural. So let us see. Certain words that always take a singular verb is someone. Someone in the game was hurt. So this is the supporting verb. We cannot say someone in the game were hurt, was and were. So was a singular, were is plural. So someone in the game was hurt, was a singular. So always this someone, it will always take a singular verb. And there are other words that take singular verb. I have given it at the end of the last rule. After the 10th rule, I have listed all those verbs that take singular verbs, all those subjects that take singular verbs at the end. So the third rule says that some subjects always takes singular verb, even though the meaning someone means there are a lot of people among that we are saying choosing someone. So the meaning seems to be plural, but it is taking a singular verb. Always, so there are certain subjects that take singular verbs, and these are the words. Someone is one word, everyone, etc. The words are listed at the end. So now we are going on to the fourth rule, rule 4. The following words may be singular or plural depending upon their use in the sentence. So depending on the use in the sentence, certain words may be singular or certain words may be plural. For example, some, any, all, and most. If these sentences are used in a sentence, most of the news. Here the news is singular. Okay, the news is singular. And here, most of the flowers, and flowers is plural. Flower is singular and flowers is plural. News, singular and plural is the same. And for flowers, singular is flower, plural is flowers. So, most, we have started with most, but in one sentence, it is used as singular, and in another sentence, most is used as plural. So, the same word, it can be used as singular as well as plural. So, depending on the context, these words, they can be either a singular or plural word. So, that is the fourth rule. It depends on the sentence. The following words, and these words, some of the words that can be used as both singular and plural are some, any, all, and most. These are the common words that we use both as singular and plural. So we have to study these words and see that these words, whenever they come, they can use both singular verb as well as plural verbs. Is it clear? So these words, if it is used in a sentence, they can take both singular verbs as well as plural verbs. Not only most, there are other words like some, any, all, etc. So that is rule 4. Now we are going to rule 5. That is, subjects joined by and are plural. That is, if you have more than one subject, and if they are joined by the word and, then they take plural verbs. Okay. See, and also subjects joined by or nor. If there are two subjects and they are joined by or nor, they take a verb that agrees with the last subject, the second subject. The verb should agree with the second subject. So let us have a look at it. So Bob and George. So we have two subjects here joined by and. So the rule says that if subjects, here we have two subjects, if the subjects are joined by and, then the verb is plural. Okay, this is the supporting verb, the verb is plural. So if you are going to write the sentence like this, Bob and George is leaving, then that is wrong, because you have to look at the second subject. The second subject again speaks of a single person. So it is singular. So here also the second, I said the first rule is if you are joined by and, then the subject verb is plural. So if you're going to use is, it is wrong. But if you're going to use are, it is correct. Because if the subject is singular, then it should be, and if there is an and in between the subject, the verb should be plural. So subjects joined by and means the verb should be plural, because here we have two subjects and more than one subjects are there. So if there was only one subject, it is singular. Since we have more than one subjects joined by and, then the verb is plural. If there are more than one subjects joined by and, then the verb is plural. If you're going to use is here, then that is singular and that will be wrong. Then the second case, that is joined by or nor. Neither Bob nor George is leaving. So if you're going to use, instead of and, if you're going to use or nor in between the subject, then the verb is singular. Okay. Is it clear? It is singular. Why? Because you have to look at the second subject, and if that subject is singular, then verb is singular. And if here, if we had used a word women, women is plural, then you have to make this verb plural. You have to change it to are. Okay, if the second subject is singular, the verb is singular. If the second subject is plural, then the verb is plural. Here, George is a single person, so the subject is singular. If this was a plural subject, then here you would have used a plural verb. So if subjects are joined by or nor, look at the second subject and choose the verb. If it is joined by and, then use plural verb. So in general, you can just say that like this. If subjects are joined by and, use a plural verb. If the subjects are joined by or nor, look at the second subject. And if this subject is singular, use a singular verb. And if this subject is plural, use a plural verb. That is rule 5. Okay, is it clear to you? Rule 5. Can anyone say what is rule 5? Are you getting confused with that? If two subjects are joined by and, then the verb is singular or plural. If two subjects are joined by and, plural. Very good. Because there are more than one person and can easily identify by using and. If two subjects are joined by and, then the verb is plural. There are more than one person. Then, if the subjects are joined by or nor, then what should you do? The subjects are joined by or nor. What should you do? I have two subjects joined by or another word is nor, N-O-R. If the two subjects are joined by or nor, then what is the rule? Just look at the second subject. If the second subject is singular, verb is singular. If the second subject is plural, verb is plural. Did you get it? Did you get it now? Okay, then can you say, if the subjects are joined by or nor, then how will you choose the verb? If the subjects are joined by or nor, how will you choose the verb? Is it singular or plural? How will you check? Second subject, very good. Look at the second subject. If the second subject is singular, verb is singular. If you're speaking about a single person, that is singular. So you put is. If it is about more than one people, then it is plural. The second subject is plural, then the verb is plural. Is it clear? I hope it is clear to you now. Hello? Is it clear to you? Okay. So that was rule 5. Now let's move on to rule 6. See, in rule 6, it says that there, here are never subjects. There are certain sentences beginning with there. There is a pond. There is a river. Here is the person whom we were speaking in. Here is the place. Like that, if we are beginning with certain sentences beginning with there and here, they are never subjects. There and here are never subjects. In sentences that begin with these words, the subject is always found later in the sentence. If it is beginning with there, don't say that there is the first word is the subject. Because most probably the first word happens to come as the subject. So here, if the sentences are beginning with there or here, they are not the subjects. They are never subjects. If the words are beginning with here or there, then the subject appears later in the sentence. So you have to consider the remaining sentence and find out the subject. For example, there were 5 books on the shelf. So what is the subject? What we are speaking about is the books, isn't it? So our subject is books. In that case, the verb will precede the subject. So there were. You cannot use was. Where is plural and was is singular. So books here, books is the subject. Since books is plural, the verb should be plural. So if the sentence here was about a single book, there was a book. It will be like there was a book, a single book. If you are mentioning about a single book, then here it would have been was. Since it is a plural, subject is plural, here we have to use plural verb. So instead of was, we have to use were. If it was singular, you could have used was. If it is plural, since it is plural, you have to use were. So don't consider this as the subject because there and here, they are never subject. So you have to find out the subject in the rest of the sentence. We found that we are speaking about the books. So books is the subject and this is the supporting verb. And so instead of, if it was a singular, we would have used was. Since it is plural, books is plural, the verb here, it should be plural. So you have to use were. So that is about rule 6. Now, rule 7. Is it time for you now? So we have studied about 6 rules. Okay. Is it clear to you? Any doubts? You can ask in the next class. Okay. Just go through these rules. Write down the rules in your notebook with the example. Is it clear to you? In the end, I will tell you to submit the book. So you have to write down these rules. I had told 7 rules today. 7. Is it 7? No. I had told you 6 rules, isn't it? How many rules did we study today? 6. Okay. Write down these 6 rules in your notebook. Is it clear? Okay. Very good. Now say your attendance, please.
1,
2. Say your numbers, unmute and say your numbers. 2 absent. 3.
3,
4,
Now continue.
3,
5,
6,
7,
8,
9,
9. Absent. 10.
10.
11. Number 11.
11.
Absent. Okay. Next 12. Number 12.
12.
No, come on fast.
12.
Okay.
30.
Okay.
14.
Okay.
15.
Okay. Okay.
16, 19,
17.
19,
Okay. 18. Ashwin. 18 absent. 19.
19,
20.
20.
21.
22,
23.
24,
25.
26,
27. 28.
29,
30. 31.
32,
33.
34.
35,
36,
37,
38.
39,
40.
38 present.
38.
39.
39,
40.
39.
41. 42.
43,
44.
45.
46,
47.
48.
49.
50,
51.
52,
53.
54, 55,
56.
57,
58.
59,
60,
61,
62,
63.
Okay, so absentees. Number 2.
2
Abhinav.
present,
Number 18. Ara?
number 2.
Abhinavano.
അതെ അതെ
In the attendance.
നെറ്റ്വർക്ക് ഇഷ്യൂ ആണ്.
Then Ashwin, number 18. Present? Okay. Then number 39. Number 39. Present. Okay, so all are present today, isn't it? Okay, thank you.